Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wife's a Bitch. I'm going to be flying solo today. I'm Victoria Arnstein, your hostess, and I am very happy to talk to you, about relationships. People don't understand a lot about relationships, and it's kind of jarring because I have been through it all. I've been married for 26 years, almost 26 years now. With him 27 years, my husband, and he almost left me twice. And now the last 6.5 years have been the best ever in our entire marriage. And I attribute it to finding out what I could do to change and really owning it and really knowing that maybe it was me. Not all of me, but there was a lot of it that was me. What was I doing that was causing him to want to leave twice? I'm not saying that he wasn't at fault. And I'm not saying he didn't have his moments of, crazy. But I definitely contributed to it. And admitting it is one of the things that I think that a lot of women can't do. Even men can't do it, really. But women in particular can't seem to get a grasp on blaming themselves for anything because they feel like they're always right. And it doesn't work in a relationship. It doesn't work in a marriage. And I think there's a lot of things that women need to learn and unlearn. There's a lot of things that you've learned already that I've also been a party of, a part of. I actually don't know how I got through the first 20 years, not knowing what I know now, or what I knew I didn't even use and I'm using now. So let's get into it, right? I have a book called Impress Yourself, and I think you'll like it. It's a good book. It has a lot of good stuff in there that I think could help you or somebody that you know. Maybe it's not you, but I have to say, I have said it in other podcasts, but I can't reiterate it enough. I was needy. I didn't really have a life of my own. I was kind of jealous of my husband's life. I was, he was very accomplished in a lot of things that he was doing, and he was also very goal oriented, and I wasn't goal oriented. And I started, trying to impress him by running because he was a runner, and I wanted to just show him that I could be just as good or competent. And what that did was it gave me a glimmer of hope for a little bit. It was a lot of glue in the breaks of our marriage, and it did get us closer, but it wasn't enough until I realized that I should be doing things to really impress myself, like really truly impress myself and not have to worry about who else it was impressing, because there's nothing sexier than confidence. There's nothing sexier than knowing who you are and owning it and having a life. I'm not saying that you have to have your own career and you have to be success at everything. Just be really happy with what you're doing, content. Acceptance is a very big word also that I couldn't grasp. I come from a background of sales, and I pushed hard and I kept pursuing and persisting and hustling and not hearing the word no. So it's great for sales. But what it's not good for is maintaining the sale afterwards. The push, it's over, like let things be. Um, Women don't think that they have to play a game once they get married. That's why they want to get married. They think that it's over. It's not. It's actually a lot more work when you're married than when you're dating. Dating is the easier part. Um, I naturally didn't really gravitate towards my husband at first. When he was into me, I was being pursued, and that was very sexy to a man. My husband is an alpha male. Um, Very fun to date, very hard to live with, but he was very intrigued by somebody that was not all over him. And I naturally really didn't care at the beginning. So I naturally played the game without knowing I was playing the game, which was very attractive. Now, I'm not saying that you have to play a game, but you could do it in a way where it's so natural that there's a push and pull, and there's mystery, and there's intrigue, and there's not so easy to get, and that's very, very nice to be pursuing for a man. And I'm not going to lie, it's actually nice for a woman too. You don't want somebody that's completely always there, always around, always does whatever you want, or a complete beta male where he's like, oh, whatever you say, dear, whatever you want, dear. That gets annoying as hell. I will not be able to live with somebody like that either. Even in a girl friendship, it's annoying. There's got to be a little bit of a chase, both sides. You give a little, you take some back. And when I mean give, don't be afraid to give. There's a lot of women now in 2024 that feels like they're empowered because they're in control of how they're going to maneuver their feelings. And in some cases, that's great, but achieve a balance. And what I mean by that is don't be so hard on like not being vulnerable and be a woman again, just be a girl. Even just be somebody that's vulnerable and bond and give. Women by nature are givers. Don't give too much and don't take too much. There's a balance with everything. I just watched this guy, this man in a show. He was famous for climbing a high wire from the World Trade Center to the Empire State Building. And his name is Philippe Petit. And I saw a show of him doing it again, 25 feet up in a church. And it was absolutely amazing. It was terrifying, but he was doing everything in his power to get to a point of balance. Yeah, I mean, did he go to extreme to get there? Yes, but sometimes that's what you have to do to achieve balance, if that makes sense. I think it's a constant reward and it's a constant punishment. You constantly have to be aware of your balance and your balance needs, just like a fish tank needs the perfect pH balance. Your body needs the perfect pH balance and you constantly have to maintain it. I'm sorry, but that's just the way life is. You're not getting enough sleep. That's going to catch up. There's just got to be a lot of things. There's 8 pillars of health that you have to check. Are you being social? Are you getting enough sunshine, enough rest, enough hydration? Are you getting enough, social activity going? It's great to pull back. I pulled back for 2 weeks, did not get on a stage, do comedy or anything like that. I really went inside myself and then I ended up emerging better. Sometimes you need to take a break. My husband and I took breaks by default. I didn't want to, but now I realize after the breaks how great it was because I got to know who I was by default. I'm not saying you need to break, but pulling away and really, honing in on yourself. It's hard to do when you have kids. It's harder to do, I would say. It's harder to do that when you have children because you have to constantly take care of them too, and they have needs. But there's got to be time for yourselves. Women, we have to achieve that balance. Now, the good news is your kids grow up and you teach them how to be independent so you can do things by yourself and you can be there for yourself. And it's so important. I can't stress it enough. There's so many things that we need to unlearn. Like women today feel like they're empowered by being strong and being in control. And that's not always the case. Be in control of how you run your life, but don't be in control of someone else's life and don't like nag and, be controlling and let them know how you feel, of course, but then don't push. There's that balance again, and I have to constantly be on top of it and I have to be aware and I have to be aware that I was part of the problem. And a lot of people can't admit that. A lot of people can't do that and they miss out and they take off their nose to spite their face. And that's really what happens. And that's what I almost did several times. I'm like, well, my pride, who gives a damn about your pride? It doesn't matter about your pride. You have to have the ability to have, your pride and dignity, but also have that balance of being vulnerable and accepting that you're not doing everything right. And, having expectations for yourself and for someone else is a lot of pressure. So there's a lot of things that you could do to achieve that balance, which is like take care of yourself, And like I said, have a life, have hobbies. I'm sure you have some hobbies. There's something that excites you, that stirs you. For me, it's painting, singing, stand-up comedy, writing jokes, putting on shows, producing shows. I just absolutely love that. Um, got these shirts that I am also selling. It's called Wife's a Bitch Podcast, and it says rent to Karen, I'll complain to a manager for you. It's all in the jokes. But anyway, you could laugh at yourself too. It's not so bad. You could actually relieve tension just knowing that you're not great. And it's great because people like to be around people that are more vulnerable and more, cheeky about themselves. So don't be so hard on, you know, being the perfect person and hard on yourselves. Um, I think that motherhood is a very big challenge when it comes to marriage. Um, Most fulfilling thing, but it's a lot of work because now you have two different people bringing up children, and there's a lot that you guys are trying to see eye to eye on. Some people could be with somebody that has different politics or different religions. I think it makes it a lot harder. Marriage is hard enough, relationships are hard enough. It's great to be on the same page. If you could find that out beforehand, that would be great. Luckily, my husband and I are on the same page politically. It would have been very hard for me personally. I accept people the way they are, but I don't know if I could live with them. That's different from living with them and being on a different page. And I don't know if I could achieve it. In fact, I know I can't because I don't want to. And you really only have one life to live. So if you know that you're one of those people, then keep searching. Keep searching. Um, Sometimes politics could change in somebody after you're married, and that's tricky also. But it's good to keep on each other, and being on the same path, and try to like talk about it before it gets too extreme on one end. Um, my husband is an extremist. He's actually sober for 30 years. I didn't know him when he was not sober. So he was like in his young teens when he was addicted to alcohol and drugs, but it wasn't a lot, but he went to rehab anyway, and he doesn't touch it. But he has different ways to be addicted to things. Like he's addicted to me sometimes. If I'm not around, he wants more of me. And then, I feel that push and pull where I'm like, all right, let's let's take care of that, and then I'm going to go back to being me again, which is good because you don't want too much of somebody ever. I think having people in doses, even if it's your spouse, is very important. Even if it's your child, even if it's your parents, even though you love them so much, and even if it's you, don't spend so much time on you either. That's too much time. That's then you're only in your head, and then you only get your view. That's a big deal too. When people have their alone time, sometimes they go too far, and then sometimes you can fall into a depression. It's your duty to get out of a depression, and the way you can get out of that is different ways. Like you can start doing things that you like, or doing things for other people. That's a big one too. You start giving charity, start giving your time. Charity doesn't have to just be money. It could be time. It could be something that you're just keeping your mind occupied, even if it is social media, whatever it is that you get your mind off of that other person, you are already now creating something that's a balance. And like I said, too much of anything. Too much social media, horrible. My husband does too much of something sometimes. Like, for instance, he went to Mount Everest, and that's extreme. That was to achieve his peace. So he worked really hard. And sometimes you have to work really hard to get your peace, if that makes any sense. So, like, the joy is getting to that top of the mountain, and the joy in something that I'm doing with maybe the podcast, maybe this releases and gets to other people, and I save one life, and somebody needs to hear it. Great. Or my comedy starts taking off. All that hard work really paid off. So you do have to work hard to get to your balance, but it's a constant thing. And just like animals are constantly looking for food to survive, we also have to survive. We have different survival things now because we have things so easily now. We're the only species that actually makes robots because of convenience and we want to seek comfort at all times. And because of that, we miss out on a lot of other things. When you work hard, you start to really appreciate things. But when you don't work hard, you don't. So now we're creating AI and robots to make things easier, and they're going to literally take over the world. And then we won't have a species. And that's very sad to me. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, I kind of know, but I don't even want to think about it. I'm glad I won't be here for it, but I really do weep for the future, for the kids, because, this is where we're at. People want comfort. And the more and more comfort we have, you see in other countries like China and India, they don't have comfort, but there's a lot more reward at the end when you don't. I'm not saying that that's too extreme also, you know what I mean? But working hard for something, like you see it in the Olympics, when you work hard for it, it makes it that much sweeter and that much more impressive, even to yourself, not just to other people. But you do earn respect, and you will earn respect from yourself when you start achieving things and working hard. It is so much easier to sit back and say, and criticize other people and criticize yourself and just be complacent and say, oh, well, somebody else could be successful. I'll just watch them. But that's depressing. So, for somebody who's like myself, who did not have a running background and ran ultra marathons and actually won ultra marathons and came in top 10 in the national championships in the 50-mile race, and running 62 miles, winning that in the mountains of Vermont, I am actually really impressed with myself. Yeah, did I do it first to impress my husband and get his attention? Yes, I did. I admit it. But after that, now I know I'm capable, and he knows I'm capable. And, it really did work out in the end. Doesn't matter how I got there, but I got there. And so where I'm at right now is that I'm seeing the more I accomplish in life, getting on stage and telling jokes, not an easy thing. Now I can go to a party and not feel nervous because I'm like, oh, I don't have to do comedy here. Like, oh my God, how easy is that? Because I'm doing so many things that are harder than just going to a party. Whereas when I was younger, a party, like getting the butterflies right before you get to a party or an event, you get nervous. Meanwhile, nobody's even looking at me. No one cares about me. They all care about themselves. So that's another whole story that people waste their time on. Oh, they're looking at me. They're thinking about me. Insecurity runs deep, and everybody has it. Everybody's thinking about themselves. But I really truly can connect more with people because I'm not thinking in my head when I'm out socializing, and I'm not even having to perform comedy. So I absolutely know that it's torture before I get on stage, but then afterwards, the reward is so great if I do well. If I don't do well, I work on it harder. Do I get insecure about it if I don't do well? Sure. It passes because I know there'll be another show, and I know that I've already succeeded in other shows. See what I mean? So if you don't do well in one race or one test or one something, it's not the Olympics for you. I'm talking to the common person here, It's not the Olympics for you. You can get a do-over. There's erasers on pencils. There's a delete button on your computer. There's do-overs. It's a backspace. You got it too. Now, you can't get time back. Time is the most precious commodity. You can't get time back. So spend your time wisely and invest in yourself. Really, truly. Put time into yourself. Learn something new. Keep learning. Be fun at parties. Be interesting. Be interesting at parties. How amazing is it to talk to somebody interesting? I talked to somebody recently. I'm like, wow, you really have an interesting life. Like, I'm admiring that and I'm inspired by it. Now, there's a lot of people that are out there that get jealous because those are the people that will not be inspired no matter what you do, because they'll always find a way to put themselves down, and they'll always find a way to be a victim. And those people are jealous, and those are the type of energies that you should not be around. Try to avoid people like that. If you have to see them at parties and family get-togethers and you're even related to them, even my own husband gives me negative energy. You can't do that, or you're not that good at this. And I'm like, listen, I'm not you. I know you like that militant way where somebody tells you you're not that good at it and then you prove yourself. I'm not really like that. I like the encouragement, believe it or not, but I can't control him. I can only tell him that I want that, but there's only so much you can do. You can't control other people and how they're going to act with you and how they're acting with you. You can't possibly get to everyone. You have to just really control yourself. Now, uh, here's a big one. Women have a tendency to give sometimes, and they don't realize that they're sabotaging their relationship by just doing that one thing, putting them first, putting the other person first. It never works out. Even their children stop respecting them. I'm noticing, like, when you give in too much to your children and to your spouse and to whoever it is, maybe it's your boss, whatever it is, a friend, it it's a turnoff. It really is a turnoff. They do get turned off. They don't know why they're turned off, but they are. And so why put yourself in that? If you're aware of this now from watching this or listening to this, please be aware that you will know that it's not healthy to give so much. And then it's not healthy to take so much. And then these women that just want to, say, well, he has to love me the way I am. How are you? Are you taking care of yourself? I mean, are you taking care of yourself? Because if you're not taking care of yourself, turn this off now. It's not for you. This is not for you. I'm writing a book about relationships now. And the first thing I write in the book is if you're not taking care of yourself or willing to take care of yourself, hygienically, internally, physically, um, all my advice is just not going to work out because you don't respect yourself enough. And that's really what that comes down to. Every animal on earth really kind of respects themselves in a way, not emotionally, but they self clean or whatever it is they do. They're seeking survival at all times. And this is a kind of way of surviving, surviving your relationships. If you want to be alone, be alone. If you really just want to be alone and you truly don't want a relationship and not for you, that's great that you know that. That's really great. I commend you. But if you have this part of you that's like, I wish I had love and I wish I can give love and have the same thing back and reception, well, first of all, know that that's completely unrealistic if you want it all the time. And that was my problem. I was addicted. I had this one addiction where I was addicted to romance, and I blame the romance novels, and I blame the um, movies and TV shows that just really promote constant promotion of, because it's a great drug, and they know they're selling a drug. You know, you look at all these like movies and stuff, these chick flicks. They all end the same way, you know? And you get addicted to this romance and it's a drug and they know it. Just like the pharmacies know that they're giving you something and everybody know a drug dealer knows what they're doing. And it is a drug. And I was addicted to that and I always seeked it out. I seeked it out with um, different boyfriends, wanting a new relationship, that new car smell, that new romantic feeling. And I was really into looking for that as my drug. Um, I hope that you find a balance. I'm not going to make this a very long podcast. I'm doing this solo. I'm just really talking off the top of my head and things that I think about. When I go running, when I go walking, I have these thoughts and sometimes it flows and sometimes I want to write it down and sometimes I don't get to. Sometimes I'm swimming for about an hour and I can't get to it and sometimes I forget. But right now, it's all in my heart. It's coming out for you. I want you to understand that you are important and there are ways to keep relationships going without completely sabotaging and hurting yourself or the other person. Because let me tell you something, when you do have children and you are in a marriage, it will affect your children in big ways, more ways than you know. I've spoken to many children of divorce. After many years their parents were divorced, they still have this little hope. I mean, my parents weren't divorced, so I didn't get it, but they have this hope that their parents are going to come back together. There's something about that. They have pictures of their wedding pictures and they know that there was like an abusive relationship and everything was wrong with that relationship as adults. But something about that children really do get affected by it. And you don't want to do that to your children on purpose if you could avoid it. Don't jump into marriage. Don't jump into marriage. And also don't shy away from it either. There's a lot of people that are runaway brides, very afraid of commitment. Um, really find out why you want to be in a relationship with someone else. And if you can really give to that other person and you're ready to give to that other person, it's very important. It's so great to be vulnerable. It's so great. Of course, they throw it back in your face sometimes in an argument, and that'll happen. But, you address it. You say, you know what, that really hurt. That was below the belt. Or I'm not going to take that from you. I'm not doing that. And there's got to be a little bit of punishment on both ends when you hurt the other person. There has to be. They can't get away with it. And you can't get away with it either. Like if you're being mean, it's got to be an apology. There's got to be some changes. Like you can't get away with that. And I've been making it known to my husband whenever he gets into a fight with me and starts like really insulting me. I'm like, you know what? That worked before. It's not working again. It's not working anymore. And I will go without talking. And I will also forgive if I hear the right apology and the right time and everything's working and, in the right time and place. I'm there to listen, and maybe I need more time. But I know his the foundation of my relationship works, so I know that we'll get through it. There's nothing we can't talk about. If you have to see a therapist with that, fine. If you don't have to see a therapist and you can actually talk to your spouse, go for a long walk, talk to them. Maybe don't look at each other when you're talking. Maybe do look at each other when you're talking. We'll find out what those things are. How did you get out of the other fights in the past? Do these fights keep happening over and over again? Are they patterns? They were for me. Sometimes my husband will get into a little bit of an angry moment and I'll be like, oh my God, here it comes. It's like a wave. It'll pass, or it's like an ulcer and I have to get used to that. It's not easy because it triggers me because we used to have these fights and they would last long time. And then he wouldn't talk to me for a week, which made me angrier. So now we don't get to that point. We're older also. We're more mature. So that goes into it also. That's a big factor. So yeah, my husband was very young when I married him. He was 22 and I was 28 and I was a virgin on the night of my marriage. And I, you know, was expecting a lot more, from a spouse, things that I heard that were, romantic and stuff like that. And it's always going to be like, it's not. Just appreciate the times that they are romantic. That's all I could say. I really, really like treasure it, just like you would treasure if you're having a great dessert. It's not going to happen all the time. You're not going to have a thrill a minute. It's going to be tough times. And you know what? It's great when you know you can get out of it. It's like a paper bag. I play chess now a lot. And then people are like, oh, do you know, learn from the masters? No, I don't. I'm not even getting to a great level in chess, but I'm learning how to get out of a situation and my brain is navigating differently. It's finding new pathways to get out of sticky situations. That's what I'm playing chess for. I'm playing chess for the challenge of how to get out of something because it's a challenge. You want to get out of something that's not going to be a checkmate on your, taking away from you. So, and those little wins, they feel good. There's a dopamine fix. Knowing that you got out of it, you could get out of it probably another time easier than you did before. I'm much better at chess than I was before because I play a lot. I'm better at comedy now. Even from 2 days ago, I'm better than I was. If I don't get on stage for 2, 3 weeks, I feel it when I'm on stage again. I'm getting my feet again. It's harder, but I know that I'm going to get past that. And now tonight is like 2 nights after the last time I got on stage, and now I'm feeling more confident and just gets to be a little bit more part of a fabric of your life. So keep doing you and keep practicing and keep working hard at something. And even if it's like one painting or a puzzle that you're working on, like $10,000, a 10,000 piece puzzle, or whatever it is, a project that you're working on. Maybe it's trying to get a client for work. I don't know what else, whatever it is that you're working on, chisel at that sculpture and you will have a sculpture in the end. And sometimes that sculpture is going to look like crap. And then you're going to have something else to learn because you learned from that mistake that you made on that sculpture that there's another way to do it. Get what I'm saying? All right. So again, I got Impress Yourself book on Amazon. I'm writing a book about relationships right now. I got my stickers. Here's the QR code. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, Wife's a Bitch podcast. Follow me on Instagram, Victoria Makes You Laugh. And I'm probably going to get banned on that also. And by the way, when you follow me, there's a warning that I don't give um, the right advice or something creative. Are you sure you want to follow Victoria Arnstein? I'm like shadow banned all the time. It's ridiculous. From jokes. That's another thing about comedy. Should be the Wild West. There should not be any boundaries. The reason I fell in love with comedy in the first place was because it was so freeing and it was so liberating and pushing the envelope and going dark and whatever you want to say. And to me, that's why I fell in love with comedy. And that's why I like freedom of speech and I like all that stuff. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to this podcast. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask. And yeah, these podcasts are not that funny. In fact, they're not funny at all. But, you know, basically, I'm giving relationship advice because what I know, what I've want to share, what I've learned over the years. And you never know who can help. Anyway, take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.